and welcome to the IndustryXO series sponsored by Epicor and Frost & Sullivan. I'm your host, Win Martin, and today we have an exceptional guest joining us, Mr. Vibhu Kapoor, Vice President of Sales and Partner Ecosystem at Epicor. Vibhu has been at the forefront of enabling digital transformation journeys across the manufacturing world, and today we'll explore two pivotal themes with him: the evolution of ERP systems and the growing role of AI in shaping the factory of the future. We have with us Rahul Sharma. He is the Vice President and Global Head of Business and Operational Excellence, Digital Transformation, Sustainability, Investment and Strategy, and Due Diligence. He's ex-PwC, ex-KPMG. Welcome today, both of you, to the show. And as we begin the day, I would like to first set some context. I have known the both of you for about close to a decade now, I must say. And I've seen both of you chasing your North Star personally. And of course, heavily involved in the success of your respective organizations. Vibhu, yourself in India, Middle East, Africa, and the emerging markets, and yourself globally scaling Frost. So welcome to the show. Very successful individuals with us here today. So let me set some context and get things going so that, our audience also gets to know a little bit about the both of you. To start off, let's understand the purpose and the inspiration behind your own journeys. What made you foray into the enterprise tech and manufacturing sector per se? Yourself, Vibhu.
First of all, thank you, Martin, for the warm welcome. It's an honor and privilege to be here. Very interesting question. I look back 22 years. I've been in the Middle East, worked a little bit in India, but all the credit goes to my background, which comes from deep-rooted family and the relative ecosystem back in India. So we come from a family which is hardcore manufacturers. And the last bit I know from my great-grandfather, they were into trading and manufacturing during the British colonial rule. So seeing that throughout my family and the ecosystem, it was all about manufacturing. And that was the time I realized this is in my blood. I want to continue operating in it, understanding more about this particular sector. Having said that, it was also the time when IT sector, the technology sector was booming. And I was realizing, seeing my own family, that we still run on archaic systems. It's not totally out there. I ventured my education into the IT sector, and boom, that was the right time when I realized that the merging of both manufacturing with the enterprise tech is a much needed game if ever India and eventually Middle East has to grow.
That's
So
wonderful.
that's where the marriage happened.
Okay, great. And Rahul, what made you, look at the manufacturing sector? A little bit about your background and how you got into this.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Manufacturing has always inspired me. I, in fact, did my education in manufacturing, and my entire experience spans across manufacturing, digital manufacturing, and solutions thereabout. I believe that the manufacturing folks challenge themselves every day, be it on the shop floor, be it on supply chain, logistics, design side of it, and so on and so forth. And I'm privileged that I got the opportunity to work for various organizations and clients, be it Case New Holland, Caterpillar, Airbus, Chrysler, and so on and so forth. And I got my learnings from there. And now it's time for me to give back to the manufacturing ecosystem. And that's why manufacturing has always inspired me.
Great. Isn't it true that you also operated machines on the shop floor
Uh,
earlier on in your career just to get a grip on things?
Yes, that's correct. When I started my career, I was the lathe machine operator on the shop floor. That's where I started understanding the nuances of machines. I fell in love with machines there, to be candid with you. And that's where I wanted to learn more about the interconnectedness between the machines, HMIs, and the entire ecosystem that runs in the shop floor. So that's where, yes, you're right. So I started my career from there.
That's wonderful. This is probably a lot of people don't know about you, that you've actually gone on the shop floor, rolled up your sleeves, got your hand dirty, and gotten a real grip on the real scenarios on the shop floor. Vibhu, when did you kind of realize, like, hey, you know what? Between what the software tech tools and everything that exists, and uh, the backbone of it, which is the ERP system, that would become a critical component as a transformation tool for the manufacturing sector. When did you see that shift happen for yourself?
The shift is still happening. It hasn't stopped.
Okay.
But yeah, but a very good question. See, when I ventured into the enterprise tech space, it was tech. It wasn't even enterprise. It was thought as a tech space. An organization would particularly use a backend accounting based software, which will do maybe a little bit of inventory, maybe do a little bit of shop floor. It was more of a transaction based system, and I was lucky enough that I started working for organizations like Navision, which eventually became Microsoft Dynamics. Then I worked with SAP, then I worked with Infor, and I'm now running the ship with Epicor solutions. So all these companies are deep rooted into ERP, deep rooted into ERP primarily for manufacturing, trading, and distribution. And working with many organizations in the last 22 years, a little bit in India, majority in Middle East, somewhat in Africa, I have seen this shift talking to a lot of customers. Businesses have transformed, businesses have grown just because the solution kept getting evolved. The shift probably started happening when industrial revolution hit big time. What started really happening was all these manufacturing organizations, big globalization happened, manufacturing organizations started investing, but their investment was primarily into machines, their core job. What Rahul, you said you've been good at running the machines. The focus was on that, and everybody forgot that there is human in place, there is paperwork in place, there are processes in place. How do you now integrate and manage all that? So tech evolved, and then suddenly the owners of these businesses realized that how important is the machine? Equally important is the backend software, which is going to manage the whole operations. And that's where this stuff shift started happening. And with AI coming into it, the shift continues to happen. So it's not stopped.
We will definitely delve into that piece a little later on today. I'm sure Rahul also has his own perspectives to share on that. Uh, Rahul, like, you started off your journey with machine operations, and then you also transformed yourself into a consultant. And I think over the last almost 2 decades, you've been a consultant. Where do you see that symphony happening when it comes to the shop floor and the manufacturing tech solutions? And where do you see the gap, especially in the emerging economic markets?
Yeah. Well, any organization, and I mean, it's true for manufacturing as well. There are three aspects to business: people, process, and technology. So when we are talking about machines, we are talking if the machines are not integrated with solutions, then there's only this much that you can do. The consumer behavior is changing. The consumer demands are changing. There is pressure on the cost. So cost reduction is an important aspect of the game. Businesses want to increase their revenues and hence take more cash to the bank. Now, if this has to be scaled, then in that case, the solutions need to work in tandem with people, process, and technology. Uh, uh, ERP, of course, is the backbone of an organization, and it sits on top of PLM CAD. That's one side of the equation. The other is, let's say, manufacturing execution system. Now, if an organization has, let's say, these three systems integrated in a manufacturing organization, let's say they are 60 to 70% digital or digitally matured, right? Now, that's why these solutions are important. And the important aspect is how do they integrate and communicate with the people aspect. Most important, one of the things that I'm very fond of saying is that the organization first must look at their processes. And the gap that you spoke about, the gap is not on the solutions or on the tools. The gap is on the processes. If you fix the process, and then install and commission digital solutions on top of those organized process, you're achieving something. But if you are installing or commissioning solutions on unorganized processes, essentially you're digitalizing the waste. And that's something which essentially we strongly advise against.
Something you taught me a little earlier on in my career is always ask the question why I'm doing something. Yeah. And then ask and assess where do I currently stand, right? Where do you stand? People, process, technology, where do you stand in these? And you're saying pick process the first and organize that aspect. Um, so where do you think the current state lies? You said that hey, you need to fix process. According to you, Vibhu, how would you describe, let's say, you have to say one word to describing the current state of global manufacturing, okay? What would that one word be that would describe it?
Resilient.
That's probably something we all saw during the pandemic, the resilience of the
Absolutely.
manufacturing sector.
I think that's the first one. Supply chains were disrupted all over the world. People panicked. Two industries, in my opinion, stood strong. First was the banking insurance. I mean, but banking insurance were able to sustain that disruption because they always had advanced technology backend. Banking could never go wrong. They always were the forerunners in adopting the most cyber secure systems, etc. Manufacturing was the laggard one, to be honest. They were always thinking, okay, I can do it. I'm going to focus on machines. But manufacturing turned around very quickly with the right softwares and tools and technologies. I think that was they've sustained that. Um they have gone through various technological advancements and some of the supporting softwares, which Rahul you mentioned, PLM, manufacturing execution systems, and then with the Industry 4.0 IoT devices. MES doesn't work on its own. There are so many other elements, the advanced machinery. All these things were coming and they will come. Manufacturing did not stop. Manufacturers had to adopt, had to change. Somebody in China or somebody in America bought advanced machinery to run, say, plastic manufacturing. Can rest of the world be left behind? If they are left behind, they'll lose their market share. So everybody started adopting. That was the other reason I call resilient. I use the word resilient. Third is, and you will see it quite often, and you'll see UAE government is really promoting it, is sustainability. Sustainability has to be the core of every organization. And as a manufacturer, it is now your responsibility to give it back to the society, whether you want to do it yourself or whether you will be forced down by the government because of the norms, because of the CO2 emissions, because of reducing wastage, saving electricity, etc. This cannot be achieved unless manufacturers invest in the right technology, in the right hardware, in the right software. So I think being resilient is one word which I see will help manufacturing sustain themselves with anything. They can take the hit anytime.
My perspective is a little deferred compared to what you're saying. I like to take a little bit more of a broader look as to what happened to the manufacturing and the supply chains that were disrupted across the world. And one of the key reasons to this is large manufacturing units sitting in one end of the world, raw materials being shipped from another part of the world to fulfill them, and those finished products then being shipped back to where the consumer is, which again is in the emerging markets. What I believe should be the future of manufacturing is micro factories, stationed or positioned in cluster formats, um, closer to the resource, closer to where the raw materials actually exist, which is your emerging markets, which is your Southern Americas, your Africas, and your Asian markets. Because if you're now looking at setting up micro factories closer to where the source of the raw materials are, you tend to reduce the impact or the carbon footprint of transporting raw material. For example, iron ore is shipped out of India to Brazil or to China, and then that finished product is then reshipped back in emerging markets where the infrastructure is actually getting built or paced. So according to me, I think the way the system is broken, or the way the system has been designed in the last industrial revolution, which took place, the concept of mega factories does not apply to the next 50 years of the world. And I think this will turn back into giving a lot of opportunity for technology providers, because larger organizations will have to set up smaller micro factories in emerging economies to, of course, create job pool opportunities, but also create cost efficient economies of scale. All right, that's my
No, no,
perspective.
totally agree. This is solving a big supply chain problem if we can do that. But the manufacturer who's manufacturing will still continue to do as long as he receives the raw material. Uh, but yeah, we'll talk about customization and personalization if we get to that point today,
Mine is
because
the
that's what
utopian world. I'm not a techie. I'm not a consultant. I live in
But
utopia.
you have to bear in mind, and this is something that I learned very early in my consulting career, that your solution could be very good. It might look phenomenal, when we put it on papers. Uh, but there is one thing which actually overshadows your entire consulting solution, and that's called taxation or tariffs. Right,
Yeah,
in
agree.
today's world, when
Mm,
we talk about tariffs, then again, where do you put your factory in fact becomes a very important decision making parameter as
absolutely.
well.
But you picked up a sensitive word,
Yeah.
right? And linked to somewhat this geopolitical
Yeah.
tensions and
Mm.
tariffs and trade wars. Will it have manufacturers stop producing? No. That's why I use the word resilient. They will find a way. They
Hmm.
will continue to do so. They'll pricing models will change, raw material will change, taxation further will define where do I produce, who do I sell to,
Yes.
where do I buy from. But the manufacturer themselves will stand ground, and I think that keeps the world spinning.
Yeah.
All right. Now, as we continue to dig deeper into the technological aspect of the manufacturing business, I will allow Vibhu and Rahul to take over at this stage, and I will continue to see where I can add value to this intense conversation.
Thank you, Vinay. I'm going to, of course, ask you a bunch of questions, Vibhu. Uh, I want to first talk about the shift on the modular purpose built ERP versus open source. I think it's a bit of a touchy subject. I want to, of course, pick your brain on that. How are legacy systems giving way to modular ERP in manufacturing? What's your take on that?
See, the transition within the ERP world has been tremendous, and I would say remarkably, they have given value to the customers who have adopted them. Of course, there have been challenges on deployment, implementation, processes not being understood well, or the changes within the organization happening too rapidly. And the other one is change management within itself from the customer end. It's a marriage hand in hand. Legacy systems were always viewed more as a transaction based system, a system of record. You do record keeping, you do the transaction, you post an invoice, you send out a PO, and there you're done. And then eventually you end up matching your trial balance and eventually a balance sheet, and maybe an archaic report will come out. But gone are the days, the system is more integrated. Rahul, you use the word integration quite a lot. I think you cannot go wrong on that, and you cannot miss that critical element, because if the different systems don't talk to each other, it won't work. But when you come within the ERP in today's day and age, the standard and core ERP system have different modules built into it, and that really provides value to the customer. So in terms of its one core system, end-to-end ERP, from finance, supply chain, inventory, warehousing, manufacturing, HR system built into it, and on top of it, what has also progressed is the add-on solutions, or what you call plugins, or you can call them line of business solution. There's an organization which is hardcore manufacturer but also has a large staff, and you need an HCM solution to cater to their needs. We cater to a lot of oil and gas customers, but we generally cater to their manufacturing sector. But what happens is they also have a lot of assets. So generally, most ERPs would have an asset management system to it, but on top of it can sit an asset management full end solution, which is called a line of business solution. So modular systems do help the customer grow and scale. And what it provides customer with the flexibility is that you grow with the system. You keep adopting these modules as and when they come, and they grow as your business is growing. You can add more divisions, you can add more companies, you can go multi-country, multi-currency, and businesses can expand. It can happen in the phased manner. Basically, in short, you don't have to boil the ocean on day one. The other shift, when you talk about legacy to the modular, I think the other shift which we have seen and is continuously happening is the capex opex model debate, which is which I think we all know who has won. right? The capex model is going away, the opex model is here. So by opex, just to be clear, it means SaaS based ERP
Mm.
system, right? The organizations today don't want to take the headache of hardware, security system,
Yeah.
middleware. It's plug and play on the system. And what it comes with the industry best practice. So what we give on the cloud is industry specific, verticalized ERP system, which will suit your business. And I think that's where the
Mm.
world is heading. And once it's on the cloud, the modular based ERP system and more technology coming into it will only grow and enhance, whereas the customer can focus on their business and the provider can focus on building the right
Mm.
solution for the
And that's
customer.
interesting, Vibhu. You touched upon and used a bunch of words which are quite important. You spoke about modular. You spoke about customization. You spoke about purpose built. Now, in your view, why is purpose built ERP relevant in today's, or more relevant in today's dynamic manufacturing environment than the open source alternatives? Now, people might argue, or businesses might argue that, hey, open source, there are advantages to that as well. So, what, according to you, are, let's say, the advantages and disadvantages on that
No, no,
side?
a great question, and I'm not trying to, it's a pros and con
Yeah.
debate basically, and open source has always been there. Even before ERP came into the play, there is always a debate upon open source and paid software, etc. Now, it totally depends upon number one, what the customer appetite is. Uh, Please understand the journey of an organization. In my view, and what we are seeing today, an open source ERP system, because the discussion is on ERP, it's very suitable for, let's say, a home office or a small business trying to become a large business, or they know that they will become large at some point in time. So it's an easy entry point. You can quickly adapt, you can get into it, start doing your minuscule basic jobs. So that's where open source ERPs really come in handy. And it can, to a lot of extent, complementary in the sense that it can be a stepping stone. But at some point, if the business is growing, and the business is getting complex, it has deep manufacturing requirements. In my opinion, open source cannot give you that, because open source reliance is a lot on third party individuals, third party plugin, market space. What it doesn't bring into play is the best practices which are built within the core ERP ground up. And there I will give an example of Epicor, the company I operate in. It's a 50-year-old company. It is built for the make, move, and sell economy. Make is the manufacturer, move is the trading and
Okay.
distribution, sell is your retail and e-commerce kind of situations. We have different ERPs. Now, 50-year-old ERP, it's the same ERP. It's the same ERP available on the cloud, and all the modules are fully integrated. All the functionality processes are built into the system, and it's ground up, bringing the best practice. And in the last 3 years, where open source adoption came in a heavy way in this market, and customers who were small organizations were just in the starting run adopted these solutions and they were okay. 2 years down the line, now they're moving into standard tier one, tier two ERP systems because their business has outgrown.
Mm.
And the running cost of an open source ERP sometimes is unpredictable. So in a SaaS based standard ERP model, predictability is high. And as a businessman, hand on my heart, as a businessman, what is the most important thing for me? I should know what's coming my way. In 1 year's time, how much is my spend? What is my consumption? And if my business is growing, I can purchase more and I know it'll work. So I think those are certain elements which needs
Mm.
to keep in mind when you sort of differentiate and which part of the journey
Mm.
you are
Let
in.
me pick your brain on this now. I think you spoke about that the open source is more relevant to the current status of that organization or the current journey of that organization. Let's say the organization is really starting up and it's a young organization. Now, if I want to quantify that, if I talk about, let's say, revenues, and you can talk about headcount as well. So according to you, just a ballpark figure for the audience, what could be the revenue headcount where an open source might work, and
Okay.
where the transition towards, let's say, a purpose built ERP might should
I'll
take
just
over?
straight away tell you the revenue, less than $1 million to up to $5 million. That's the business we're looking at where open source can work. Open source for a higher revenue segment, Rahul, can also work, but the business is not complex at all.
Mm,
It's just
mm.
basic transactions which they do, and some of the modules which can use. In terms of employee strength, could be anything, 10, 5 to 50 employees, 5 to 100 employees. Now, again, depends upon, are these employees users? Are the employees on the shop floor? Is it a trading organization? Are the field salespeople, etc.?
So, in that scenario, what do you think? How would purpose-built ERP would then scale along dynamic businesses then?
See, again, the modular approach really comes in handy. Uh, Standard ERP, which is Epicor is one of them, they come with the best practices built into the module. So they keep scaling with the manufacturing organization. Whether you're a discrete manufacturer, you're made to order, engineer to order, stock to order, you're into fabrication business. So these standard core ERPs have all the built-in functionalities. I'll give you a very classic example. When you can go to fabrication, large fabricators in Saudi Arabia or even in UAE, where a lot of chopping and cutting of heavy metal happens to turn into another product. There's a feature called advanced unit of measure, which you won't find in many of these standard ERP systems. So these kind of functionalities are available today in all the ERP systems. Uh, Besides that, it's not just the ERP, it's the entire support ecosystem and the product management which sits behind, and the R&D money is spent in. So all the customers talk about the AMC revenue, the maintenance revenue, or the cloud revenue which companies generate. Majority of this revenue goes into R&D of the organization, where they continue keep building on these ERP systems and all these modules. And there's again a massive shift where you're supporting customers who were on-premise deployments. Take that on-premise deployment, if customizations have been there, move those customizations and port them on the cloud without disrupting the business. The other one, which the how we address the dynamic manufacturing scenarios, is the updates and the upgrades.
Yeah.
So there are frequent updates which these ERP organizations and Epicor does quite often within the year, and we do announce it to our customers well in advance. But what I would like to highlight is Epicor has a policy of providing two major upgrades in one fiscal year. So not only our own teams get enabled, the customer gets a sneak peek. They understand what new functionality is coming in. Then they match it with their business. And what happens is when the customer is matching in and say, hey, listen, before I was doing so and so work with a workaround or with some minor customization, but now this functionality is standard. It's going to be in my part of my system,
Mm.
and they get it ready in their cloud. And before they adopt it, they are given about 30 days to test it on their pilot environment. So they do the testing, and we are not just building functionality because we have to build it. It's feedback mechanism. So Epicor has something called Ideas Portal. 23,000 customers log on to their ideas. We review it. It goes to our product management. We pick the ones which are most critical. We build it into the software, and it releases back to the customer.
Mm.
So this is how we handle all the dynamic
So
changes and coming in.
that's interesting, and I want to double click on that because no ERP can work in isolation, right?
Yeah.
So uh, your organization, Epicor, of course, is known for working closely with vertical partners.
True.
Now, how does this help manufacturers create tailored systems? Well, is that possible? If you can just take us.
So no, you vertical solution, vertical partners. Yes, we do follow that philosophy. So first of all, Epicor as a company has two go-to-market scenarios, and we always try to adapt what the customer requires. So one is we have the solution. We have our own professional services organization, which generally enter large, complex, deep end implementation. But besides that, we also cater to the mid market, and mid market for from revenue perspective, $50 to $100 million, $50 to $250 million. Now these are variety of manufacturing organization. So we have our channel partner ecosystem, which are experts in implementing, and I'm proud to say within the Middle East and even in India, we have partner organizations which are working with us for the last 20 years. So they know the product inside out. They've built verticalization or industry specific modules on top of it. I'll give you an example. We have a partner in the Middle East. They are an expert on precast manufacturing. Though Epicor can directly do it, but they've built a module on top of it which speaks only the industry language for precast manufacturer. I have another partner in Saudi Arabia which has used Epicor Kinetic manufacturing ERP and built an add-on top of it which works purely for the pharmaceutical sector. So what it does for the customer is, because when they want to see the product, they want to hear their language. The other benefit which the customer wants it quicker, rapid implementation with a standard predictable cost. So it's a
Mm.
repeat model which we continue to do. And we have now partners in the region which are focused purely on EPC and project manufacturing. And Middle East
Yeah.
is very heavy on
Yeah.
project
Yeah.
manufacturing, right? So I have partners in the region which can speak that language. We can go to the right type of customer, and we have churned out the whole campaign end to end, and customers are finding great value in it. And we are able to scale across borders now because we are creating references. And from internal perspective, Rahul, I believe, and that's what I implemented when I joined this organization, is one mantra which we tell to all our sales and solution engineers: is sell, repeat, and extend. So whatever is sold, we want to make sure that customer is happy. We create a reference and case study out of it. We go and repeat to a similar set of industry, and we do it well. Once they go live, they move to the sell scenario. We have extended it, and then the extension is any campaigns which we do, we target towards that industry because we know we have a strong story to tell over there. And I think we are happy doing it because it gives us a lot of focus. Most importantly, it gives my partner community a lot of focus. And each one of them can create their own revenue streams for themselves, focusing on those specific industries.
So sell, repeat, and extend. I think it's a great mantra for success.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you so much for those insights. And to our viewers out there, if you are evaluating ERP for your operations based on this conversation, would you choose modular or open source? Let us know more in the comments. And while you're doing that, I'm going to continue to pick their brains while they go back into another intense discussion. This one's a very exciting one. The whole world is buzzing about it. It's artificial intelligence.